Hi, my name is Teacher Hilvey. I know you already know about smiling and maintaining eye contact and being enthusiastic. You know all of those things. So today, you and I will talk about ways to help your level 4 students speak out, ways to help them talk. This can be a challenge for level 4 students because many of our students get good grades at school, very, very good grades, and they are afraid of being wrong. They don't want to speak if they might be wrong. So this is a challenge for us to encourage them to speak. I'm going to offer you some tips today on how you can help them speak out in the trial classes. This is important because this is what parents want their children to be able to do. In their English classes at school, they can read, write, and take tests, and they probably do it well. But they may have trouble speaking and listening in conversations. So this is our big challenge in the trial classes for level 4. Let's take a look together, you and I, at some different ways that we can encourage students who may be a little reluctant to talk to speak out in our classes. Let's talk about some student-centered questioning techniques, encouraging student input. As I said, students really need to talk. Moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles want their students to be able to speak English well. This is your job and my job to help them be able to do this. One of the ways we can do this is by asking open-ended questions. Now, this seems kind of obvious, but it's really hard when you have 25 minutes to get through those slides to ask questions like, what do you think? However, it's really important to encourage students to talk, and I will demonstrate some of this to you. We need to provide adequate wait time. This can be very hard to you and to me. Sometimes 10 seconds or counting to 10 seems like a really, really long time. But to an English language learner who has to process the question, what am I being asked? And then process the answer, how do I respond? Counting to 10 is not a long time at all. We'll practice this together too. If a student is really having trouble, one way to encourage him or her to speak out is to offer suggestions. Do you think it's this or is it this? Then this gives them an opening. Oh, I think it's this. Why? Because this and this or this and this. Now you are beginning to establish rapport and you are beginning to encourage the child to speak out. Provide lots of positive reinforcement. I know you already know this. Lots of good job, way to go, double high five, double high five. You already know lots of that. But with level 4, as they are moving from learning the vocabulary and learning the language functions to using them in speaking and listening activities, we need to be very, very careful on how to correct their speaking. Let the students make mistakes. When they make mistakes, use the correct language in your models back, rather than correct them as they make mistakes. Now, mom and dad may expect you to do that. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Let them talk and then respond using the correct language. And I'll show you how to do this on a slide coming up. When you do this, be sure to tell mom and dad in the feedback what you're doing and why. So let's take a look at how to implement these 4 suggestions in the slides. Here's a typical slide from the level 4 trial classes. Travel, to go from one place to another. Mike likes to travel to different places. Okay, the student reads the definition. He or she reads the sentence. We can just move on. But depending on the student, where I would go next is, I like to travel Do you like to travel? The student can say yes or no. The next question is why or why not? If the student says, yes, I like to travel, and then says why or why not, because he doesn't like to travel, then we can follow up with that. Why? Tell me more. Oh, is it because you don't like to fly in airplanes? Do you prefer the train? Do you like to ride when your dad drives the car? Things like this will encourage your student to share his or her own experiences. This is what all people like to do. This is real conversation, and this is what your students want to do. Now, let me go back to encouraging students to speak. If your student says, I know like travel, let him or her say that. And you can reply, you don't like to travel? Sometimes I don't like to travel either. In that way, they hear the correct language modeled. You are not crushing them. You're not crushing their confidence when they speak out. So they are more likely to speak out next time. But they hear the correct language modeled. The more you do that, the more they will internalize the correct speech patterns. Sorry, maybe I need to internalize some correct speech patterns. Again, make sure in the feedback you tell mom and dad what you're doing and why. I travel to these places. Can you name them? Of course, the student then names the places. We can just move on. Very good. You know the names of the places. What I would do with this slide is say, I do not want to travel to the desert. It's too hot. I do not like hot places. What place do you want to travel to? And then I would encourage the student to talk. Mountain. Oh, I like the mountain too. Why do you want to travel to the mountain? And again, in a trial, you may be having a student who uses single word answers. We encourage full sentences. Again, we model that. Oh, I want to travel to the mountain too. We encourage the full sentence use by modeling that. Tell me, do you want to travel to the island? Do you like to swim? And so forth. You're getting it. Where do you want to travel? Tell me more. Would you rather travel to a city or to an island? Why? Again, this is very good if a student is reticent to speak. Which would you rather do? Would you rather go to see a show or swim? Would you rather eat at a restaurant or play on the beach? Those kinds of things will encourage your student to speak out. Again, it's not that hard if you stay positive, if you encourage your students to speak out, if you model the correct responses back, if you let your students know that you will not crush them for every mistake when they speak aloud. You will, however, respond back using the correct language forms so that students can hear what will be expected of them. Encouraging student input. These are simply a few of the student-centered questioning techniques that we can use to encourage students in Level 4 to really move beyond the basic levels and start moving up into what we can expect them to do in higher levels. I hope that some of these little tips will be useful in encouraging Level 4 students to sign up for you to be their regular teacher with VIP Kid.